Hello everyone. I am coming on here early with today's Update Tuesday. As you all know, I've been having a little bit of a lupus issue and my energy is just so crazy lately. And right now I can just feel it starting to wane. So I figure, you know what, I'm gonna get on here, I'm gonna do this video so you all can watch it live if you want to. And then I can work on the blog post while I'm sitting in my comfy chair in the living room. So today we are going to be using the Peace and Joy stamp set. Now, Stampin' Up shared these three fantastic projects with us today using the bundle, which you can see where they've used the dies to cut this out. Well, I just ordered the dies for this today, so I don't have the dies. But we're going to make this card without the dies, and I'm going to show you how. So if you have your catalog and you go to page 18 in the catalog, I can show you the catalog now because it's live today. That is where you will find the Peace and Joy bundle. It is $45 for the dies and the stamp set, but oh my gosh, it is so worth it. Look at the words that you can cut out with the dies. You can cut them out thin, then they'll fit around these words for the second layer, and then you have that big fluffy fat layer on the back that's just for layering. So they're fantastic, and you can see where they've done the triple layering and how pretty it looks. So just want to get that out there. Now the second thing I want to get out there is today the catalog is live, so you can order from it. Also, bonus days starts today. If you have bonus days coupons, you can start using them today. If you don't have any bonus days coupons that you earned shopping with me, I am going to do something fun today. If you go onto the online store, register, choose me as your demonstrator, my little picture will pop up when you find me. Valerie Smith, Crestview, Florida. I don't know if that's just in case you have to put in the town. I'm not sure how that's working with their search these days. I am going to share some of my bonus days coupons that I have earned with you all to go ahead and use in my store. So I have a limited amount of these. So it's first come, first serve. So just go to valeriesmith.stampinup.net and you can create a wish list. Once you create your wish list on there, because you're going to click shop now and you're going to go to the new store, you can create a wish list when you are looking at the products and there's a little heart next to it. And that little heart saves it to your wish list. And then you can share that wish list with me. So once you've created a wish list and chosen me as your demonstrator, share your wish list with me and I will email you a coupon code. And like I said, they're first come, first serve. I think I have 8. Yes, I have 8 left. So if you want one, do that today. All right, so let's get started with the card. We're gonna start with some Old Olive. And just get your card base folded in half. Obviously use your bone folder. We know we love the bone folder. And then we're gonna cut a piece of Old Olive that's gonna fit across the front of the card. And it's gonna be 4 inches. Let me get my trimmer. It'll be 4 inches by 5 1/4. So we're gonna cut that 4-inch side first. Then the 5 1/4, I gotta do it at this end because that's where I can see that 1 quart mark. So that's gonna go directly on here. And then we're gonna cut a piece of Whisper White. And now the Whisper White is just gonna be a little bit smaller. It's gonna be a square, it looks like, by this picture. I'm gonna pull that picture out so you can see it again. We're working on this card. So I'm going to say, I'm gonna lay this piece up here just so I can get a reference. I'm going to go with 3 1/2 by 3 1/2. And then if it looks too big after we cut it, then we can cut it a little bit smaller. But let's give it a shot at 3 1/2 by 3 1/2 and see how it looks on the front of the card in comparison to the little, that looks a little too big. 3 by 3, let's go. Let's cut it down just 1/4 of an inch on each side. 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. Because we can always take more off. We can't add extra on. And yep, that's still too big. So I was right, 3 by 3. So that little Whisper White square is going to be 3 by 3. Hi Lois, how are you? Thanks for joining. I appreciate it. I know I'm doing this a little bit early, like I said, but it's just been, my life is just in a whirlwind right now. All right, so we've got our basic pieces cut. And then we're gonna take a piece of real red. And now what they did with this is they used the dies and they cut out the word joy. And then they cut out a little bit darker behind. It looks like probably cranberry. What cranberry? Did we have a cranberry? Cherry cobbler. Cherry cobbler. And then they did the real red for the big piece. So instead, since I don't have the dies, I am going to take the stamp set and we are going to do the word joy, and we are going to emboss it onto a piece of real red, and then we're going to cut it out. We also need To the World. Look at this fantastic stamp set. Isn't this great? You can tell this is the first time I've opened it because it's hard getting that plastic off to begin with. So we also need that To the World. All right, let me grab my embossing supplies. I'll set that stamp off to the side, grab some blocks. We'll put this one on along. I don't know, I love when the words are in a row like that. I like the long blocks, even though it's a little bit big. And then we're just gonna take Joy. I'm gonna take that piece of real red and I'm gonna use my embossing buddy on it, just to keep that static down. And then we will stamp Joy in our Versamark, and then we're gonna put gold embossing powder on it. Make sure I get it nice and inked up. Kind of stamping sideways there, but that's all right. I'll try to get most of that right back in the, I didn't do too bad, ladies and gentlemen. I got that in there pretty good. So, like I said, for their card, Stampin' Up, use the dies, and because I don't have the dies, we are just going to do some embossing and some fussy cutting, and it's going to be just as pretty as that card. So grab the heat tool, let it heat up for a second, and then we'll melt that gold embossing powder. I don't know about you, but I love embossing. It is one of my favorite techniques to do. It's super easy once you learn how to do it. And it has such a great, there we go, now it's starting to melt. It's such a great effect after you've gotten it melted, and it just looks all pretty. And then now that paper has curled up a little bit, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna flip it over for a second and just heat the back of it, just to kind of straighten it back out a little bit. That's just a little trick you can do if you want to, you know, straighten it back out a little bit. Now that I've got it melted and that's that pretty gold, we're going to fussy cut this out, and we're going to kind of fussy cut it big because we want it to look similar to this. So we're going to cut around it really fat. And it's not going to be exactly like that because my fussy cutting is not the dies. I cannot wait to get the dies. I did order them this morning, and then when I saw that this was the project for today, I was like, oh my gosh, like how funny is that I ordered the dies this morning and now this is the project that I'm working on today. I think I'm making my humps a little too big there. I might have to go back and cut those down a little bit. You gotta get that paper out of my way. When you got that big hunk of paper, sometimes it's hindering when you're trying to fussy cut. All right, so we're just gonna take these down just a little bit so they're not quite as big. There. It's not the same, but it's similar, and that's good enough. So we're just gonna leave it just like that. We'll take a piece of scrap paper and we're going to use real red ink to match that real red cardstock that we just used. And we're gonna stamp that To the World, and then we'll fussy cut that out as well because it's just a little strip. Actually, we might be able to fit it on one of these little tiny strips, and then we don't have to do very much fussy cutting. How perfect is that? If I would have just moved it up just a little bit, I wouldn't have even had to fussy cut any off the top of this. We'll fussy cut just a little bit off the top. Perfect. All right, let's grab some of, we need the holly leaves, we need the holly berries. We kind of need a little bit of all of these little extras here, all of these little foliage pieces. Because I think they used all of them for that background. Oh shoot, got ink right on the front of my case by folding it over like that. Some wipes here, we'll just use a wipe it right off. Beautiful thing about the plastic cases, they clean real easy. All right, so we're gonna use some real red. We will use some Old Olive, and it looks like they've actually used some crumb cake in there too. So we're gonna grab the crumb cake. We've got the Old Olive, and it looks like they've stamped off a little bit with the Old Olive. So I think these are the 3 colors we're gonna need. So first we will start getting all of these on blocks. And once we have them on blocks, then we can start stamping our beautiful background. Now, because these are all going to be used for that background, we could actually put them all on one block together, but our holly leaves and our holly berries, and actually some of these too, we have to use them separately for the Whisper White piece, so that's why I'm going to put them all on separate pieces for now. So we're going to start with the crumb cake. We'll use the holly leaves. They didn't use the, no, actually they did use the berries on this too. All right, so we're going to use all of them on this. I'm going to set those pieces aside and grab my Simply Chamois so we can clean them right away when we're done, because we're going to have to switch colors. And let me just see how dark they went, if they stamped off and then stamped. Yes, they stamped off first and then stamped it on there. And they don't have to be perfect. It doesn't really matter where you put them, because we're just going to be adding a little bit of each of these around this card. I love this pine bough. It's so pretty. And I actually kind of like how that crumb cake stamped off looks on that Old Olive. It's kind of pretty. Although I'm noticing I might need to put one of my let's put the foam mat underneath it, because I feel like I'm getting some dark spots and some light spots. That's much better. Already I can tell a difference in how it's stamping. Now, even though these weren't like super big stamps, because they kind of have that solidness to them, you kind of need to definitely use that, because you can see the difference between where I stamped this and where I stamped these holly leaves just by using that underneath, putting the foam mat underneath. And the foam mat is only $5. It's called a paper piercing mat. It is a perfect tool to add to your repertoire when you're wanting to stamp. You know, obviously with these photopolymer, it really, really helps. I'm gonna kind of clean those a little bit, and then we'll add some of the little holly berries. And then we're gonna go back, and I don't know why I wasn't stamping on this first to begin with. The holly berries stamp really light after you stamp them off, so you can barely see them. But they're gonna be perfect. We're going to add a lot of them because we can. Kind of have them coming off the edges a little bit. And I think when we do our card, I'm going to flip it this way because our piece of Whisper White is going to be up here, and that'll kind of hide a couple of my little mistakes where it's a little bit darker. All right, so for the top, we're going to use Old Olive, or for the Whisper White is what I'm trying to say. We're going to use some Old Olive and some Real Red. And they actually did the same thing. They stamped off first and then stamped on. And you can even, we'll do some of these little sprigs. Love the sprigs. And you can even stamp them again, even lighter if you want to. That looks really pretty. I think I'll do that down here. We'll add an extra one, just kind of really light. Now they only did the top left corner and the bottom right corner with a couple of these. I don't want to go to red. I almost dipped it in the wrong one, ladies and gentlemen. That would have been a disaster. I would have had red into my Old Olive pad, and that would not be good. All right, now we'll go ahead and just put some of the berries in Real Red. We're just going to do those full strength because we like them that way. And you can add some extra ones. You don't have to just do them in the one next to the holly. We can add some more in a couple of different spots. I think that's perfect. Then we're going to take all of our pieces and start assembling them now. Yay! All right, so we are definitely going to be using some dimensionals with this project. And I'm going to grab a new sheet of them because I don't see my sheet here. So we're going to put some on the back of the Old Olive piece to start with. Have any of you gone and checked out the new store today? It is so pretty. The graphics are much bigger than they used to be. If you already had a login and you didn't go back and check last night to see what it was, you're probably going to have to do a reset on your password, but that's not really a huge deal. And once you get on there, it's just, I don't know, I just really love the way that it is set up. It is just fantastic. You can go on there, you can search by, let's say you're looking for the Whale Done stamp set and you type in turtle, then the Whale Done stamp set is going to come up because it knows that there's a turtle in that stamp set. So I think that's super fun because we didn't have that before. It was hit or miss. You might get the Whale Done stamp set or you might just get, sorry, nothing here, you know, there's nothing by that name. So it's got a lot of new things built into it, which are fantastic. Which I think is a lot of fun. Super duper love it. So if you haven't had a chance, check it out. Fill out a wish list with me, and then I will mail you a coupon to use in my store. All right, so now we've got our word joy that's going to go right in the center. I feel like I need to melt that a little bit more. It doesn't look very shiny right now, and I don't know if that's just because it's on the Real Red or I didn't get it melted enough. So let's melt it just a little bit more to make sure that I've got all of it melted. I think I do. I think it might just be because it's on the Real Red, so it's not as shiny as it would be as if it was on the white. Yeah, it's definitely melted all the way. It's still super pretty. We'll add a couple dimensionals to the back of that. We don't need a lot, just 2 is plenty. I'm gonna pull that photo out again so we can see what we've got going on. We're going to add our joy right there in the center. And then we'll need some mini dimensionals. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to cut one of these in half. That'll work. Or cut it into strips, maybe even a little smaller than half. Yeah, because this is pretty skinny. After I put it on just that little strip of cardstock, it's really skinny. So we'll just use some pieces there. And we've got To the World right on the top of that. And this little piece that is super stuck to the scissors, I'm going to grab the Take Your Pick tool. And because I've already got a piece underneath there, we're going to slide this underneath just to make sure it's propped up enough. There we go, perfect. That will hold it up so we don't have to add any more. Now to embellish this, we are going to use some of the gold glitter enamel dots. These were something that were new last year. And they are in the catalog again this year. Look at how pretty those are. They look fantastic on these cards. They're just so shiny and gorgeous. And you know me, I like sparkly things. So we'll add some of the big ones, some of the medium-sized ones. We'll even add a couple of small ones. The super tiny ones I really love, just because they're super tiny. I'll add another one down here. Kind of put it underneath so it's partially poking out. But there we have it. There is today's Update Tuesday card. It turned out super cute. I'm really happy with it. I hope you enjoyed today's Update Tuesday. Again, I apologize for coming on super early, but I'm trying to conserve my energy. Make sure you go to valeriesmith.stampinup.net, fill out a wish list, send me your wish list, and I have some bonus days coupons to give away to the first 8 people who do that. So I hope you have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I will see you tomorrow for One Card Wonder Wednesday. Bye.